Oh, Hamish Conway here, and welcome to TACOS Tuesday. This is episode number 34, and with me again is Sebastian Hargraves. Welcome, Seb.
Thanks, Hamish. Good to be here.
Excellent. Well, all the news this week has been about the Trump tariffs and the swinging back and forth on making a decision, and then the next day or 2 days later, things changing again. And so it is the topic, and I am pretty sure that Donald Trump did not have anyone advising him about the impact that this would have on Amazon sellers and on Amazon ads. I think this is, it's kind of really trying to unpack all of this here and just look, what is the flow on impact? And, there's, what do you call it? The second and third and fourth order consequences there that just haven't been considered. And anyway, so there's been some impact, but we're going to, in this episode here, just give you what we are doing with our clients that are affected by this. And this could be what you could start to consider as well if you're selling in the US. Obviously, a lot of what we do is in Australia, but we've been helping brands in America for the last 9 years. And so we've got a number of clients there and a number of, we know, listeners that are interested in that as well. So that's the game plan. And look, I one of our clients has a product, sells reasonably high price, around $180 sort of mark, and it's out of China. So New Zealand design, but made in China, shipping across. And they got their timing on the shipping just unfortunately terrible. It hadn't arrived in the warehouse, so they got an additional 17,000 US dollar bill that they had to pay. And then like the next day, then the news comes through of the 125%. And what I didn't realize, and what I'm sure a lot of you listening don't realize, is these tariffs are actually compounding. And so I'm going to almost read this verbatim of what we got through from their shipping company. And it's saying, unfortunately, our broker has confirmed that the 124% is on top of the existing tariffs, making the new total 198.4%. So this is stacking. It's not just, it's 124, so it's stacking. And there was 3.4% was the original commodity tariff. Then there's an article of China effective from 2019 that was 25%. An article of China effective 2025 that was 20%. And then there was a steel product. There's a steel product. So, and that was 25%. So I was already dealing with this actual base of like 53.4%. And then there's been the 20 and then the 124. So it's now 198. To give you a sense here, this is not exact numbers, but ballpark. So $30 cost for the product. Then if you go, right, they're already dealing with some of these tariffs, but you add the 124% on top, and that's another $37.50, which is, luckily they had some margin, but this is eating up a lot of the margin. That $37.50 is ballpark 20% of the sale price. So what they are doing is they're lifting their price by 20%, and then they want to lower their media spend. Now, we've got some opinions on this, but I don't see this lasting forever. We're going to go through a period here. This is effectively posturing and negotiating with China. But there is a storm to sail through. So, everyone who is buying out of China and shipping into the States, you're having to deal with that sort of impact there on margin. In some cases, people's margins will just be gone, and unless they really lift their pricing, and there's going to be this period of where companies who are fortunate enough to have had stock in America or deliberately knew it was coming and got stock in there, they're going to have a grace period there that'll give them a competitive advantage. But any new stock coming in is going to be hit. So, they're kind of kicking the can down the road to a degree. So it's going to be a bit of an interesting period. There's going to be winners and losers as we go through this. And actually, in an interesting way, I've got another client who makes product in New Zealand. They bring some components in from China. They make it in New Zealand. It's like tie downs. And they've had some products that are like core tie down products. They've got some niche ones that go really well, which is super smart. But some of these core products have been a little bit harder to sell because they just haven't been as competitive. But they've got a lot of stock in the States. And so they're now in a great position there as their competitors run out of stock. And when they bring in new stock, it's going to be at a way higher price that they'll be really competitive. They could keep their prices lower, because it's already there, and then really get after the market share. So it's going to be interesting, right? And with these winners and losers. So that said, Seb, what would you add into that kind of overall mix before we dive into to the advertising piece?
Yeah, no, I think that's a good cover, and pretty insightful to have a look at the actual breakdown of the percentages and everything like that. So, I suppose for our point of view, we want to provide value. So we want to talk about, well, what can we do about it? What are the next steps?
Yeah. Okay. So from an advertising point of view, what are some smart tactics here for people to deal with these if they're impacted by these tariffs?
Yeah, so most of the stuff we're going to talk about is kind of on the optimization side, because we're not really looking at growth. We'll talk about growth in a minute and where you can find growth in this kind of environment. But most of what we're going to talk about today is going to be like, what can we limit or do less of in this environment, because we just want to kind of, like you said, sail through the storm to the other side. And so we've got a few points that we can touch on, and these kind of build on previous episodes we've done, where we've touched on, things that we suggest you should do. And in the current environment, it might just be doing less of those things. So the first one we have is limiting your research campaigns. So less experimentation. So this will be, you're limiting your broad and your phrase match campaigns, and doing more of your exact match type campaigns. And yeah, focusing on where there's less waste. And if you remember from a previous episode when we did on an audit, you'll know that there's more wasted spend that comes from those research type campaigns. So in this kind of environment, we just want to be really, really, really strategic on where we spend the money, and have as minimal waste as we can.
Yeah. So that's that's the first thing, right? Like, it's not the time to experiment. Okay. So what else? What else there from an advertising perspective? Like, where you're going to obviously you get rid of the reduce your wasted spend as much as you can through that experimenting. But what about the targeting on certain products?
Yeah, so you want to focus on your good converting product lines. I mean, we do this anyway, but again, it's kind of the similar to that research point where it's like you don't want to be experimenting with like, oh, let's put $10,000, $20,000 in ad spend behind this new product or this product that hasn't had much traction. You want to focus your spend on the proven product lines, the established product lines that are going to be working. So if you do have product launches in the mix, I would hold off until give yourself, if you can. Sometimes you can't, depending on where you are in the process, but I would hold off on those and wait it out to see how it comes along.
Yeah. And even there's an aspect here of being a bit ruthless. If you've got products that the margin, well, I mean, if you've got existing products there, you can sell those through, but the new products coming through that you're paying tariffs on, if the margin's just not there, then you might have to be ruthless and just go, well, we're just going to not order that. if or if you can't increase the price enough to make and without it suppressing sales too much, it could be a time that if you've had some marginal products, that now's the time to stop those, and that's a hard one to do, but it may just be what you need to do at this particular stage. So that's and then also, what about competition? Keeping an eye on your competition there.
Yep. So obviously, with all of these fees, it's kind of like who's going to blink first a little bit, and depending on stock levels, it will depend. But basically, the idea is if you keep an eye on your competition and they increase the pricing, and say, obviously we know competition it's multiple, but if you have multiple competitors and they're all starting to increase their price, then it's more acceptable for you to then increase your price. So that's an opportunity for you to be like, okay, I can increase this without losing market share and my position within the marketplace.
And I think the stock levels thing is going to be said right at the start around the winners and the losers. Like, if you happen to have good levels of stock, you might want to increase your price to slow it down a bit to just see what happens, to give yourself a bit of breathing space. But at the same time, you might be in a position where you could get way more aggressive around it and just be the most compelling offer there. I think what's going to be interesting, Seb, and we should do this. Like, my hypothesis is that a lot of brands will, to improve their margins, are going to reduce their advertising spend. So I think it'll be interesting to see what the average click cost does. So perhaps in a month or so we could do a exercise to go, what has the average click cost been, and then where is it now? Like, I think it could come down and actually make advertising more affordable, because it's like in certain categories in the US it is reasonably high. What do you think about that?
Yeah,
You reckon that's a
possibly. Yeah,
mm,
I suppose it's kind of like that question: who's going to blink first? Because some brands may think that this is going to be short lived, and they may be willing to hit cop a loss for an extended period of time.
yeah, yeah.
So it is definitely going to be who decides to move first.
Yeah, yeah, that's going to be the interesting thing, isn't it? Just to see, because if you do slow down your sales, your ranking will drop, and then if you start to drop off the first page, then that can be really problematic on whatever the search term might be. So there is an aspect here of having to kind of suck it up for a little bit, but it's just how long that's going to go. But again, if we keeping on the advertising theme here, what else can you do there to manage your ad spend more effectively?
Yeah, so one obvious way is just to reduce your media spend. So we kind of gave you already one way to do that, which was to be less experimental with your research campaigns. That will definitely drop your advertising cost. The other way you can do it is you can use day parting to maximize your ad spend. And what day parting is basically where you analyze the data and have a look at, are there certain times of the day or certain days of the week where you perform best, and basically making sure you have maximum visibility during those periods, and you're either really reducing your bids or pausing your ads altogether in the periods of time where you don't have that visibility.
Yeah, I think that's really smart. This is, we've talked about this before, but just making your ad dollars go further. So if there is a need to reduce your ad spend, then this is a must do tactic. Actually, if you go to our website under services management for Amazon ads, I think if you scroll down to the bottom of that page, we've got a day parting tool there, so you can get that for free. And there's a video there on how to use it. You upload your data into it, and then it will show you which times of day, days of the week, your most effective time for running ads. So that would be that's really an essential thing to do. If you hadn't been doing it, this is your opportunity to get into this. And when things start getting better, then you're already ahead of the game. So excellent. So I think there. So we talked about the potentially less ad competition. So that'll be interesting to see. What else is important in terms of a way of thinking about this and switching it more to potential opportunity?
Yep. So there's a few other points. These are kind of points that honestly, and even the day parting piece, you don't have to wait to a catastrophe for
No.
you to start using those things. And some of these points that we're going to mention now are the same, but we're just reminding you. It's like these are like if they were important before, they're doubly important now.
Mm. Mm.
So one of the other areas, and we've done an episode recently on this one, was customer lifetime value. A lot of people don't have a good understanding of customer lifetime value, and so having a good understanding of your customer lifetime value will help you understand that longer margin play. So maybe you do have to reduce your media spend, but maybe it's not by as much as you thought because of that customer lifetime value. So getting a good grip on that is going to be it's going to help the situation, and help you make good decisions.
Yeah, so that's right. So if you do go listen to that episode, I think it's a good idea. I think in that episode we did put the offer, if someone wanted you to find out what that number is for them, we've got a tool again that can do that, but it's one that we don't give to you. We can do it for you, if not for free or for a nominal amount there, depending on how big things are. So again, and the importance of that is that if your cost to acquire a customer may actually even come down a little bit, but then if you know that when you acquire a customer, they are going to spend, they're going to buy from you 4 or 5 more times on average, then you can think differently about what you're prepared to invest in acquiring the customer. And I guess linked to that then is the revisiting your target ACOS objectives. So tell us a bit more about that.
Yep. So a lot of brands, might not have this set up to begin with, but the way we operate is that every campaign should be aiming towards some kind of goal or objective. You need a North Star to measure everything off, right? To say, is it working? Is it not working? And so having a target ACOS is a good way to say, okay, I can afford, based on my contribution margin, to pay this much for my advertising. And for my advertising sales, and we kind of group things into three buckets. Either you're using advertising for research, you're using it for ranking, or you're using it for profit. And so these target ACOS objectives are tied to each one of those kind of outcomes. And so now's the time to revisit those, because obviously your costs are different. So you need to rejig what those targets should be.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, it's when things change, just that's a critical one to revisit, particularly if it shifts to profit. Okay, what else? What else, Sid?
So I'll just touch on the last two quickly. So always be optimizing your listings.
Mm,
Now
mm,
this is something that is always important, like the other points we've talked about before. But it's again, it should highlight that it's even more important in this environment, because if you have a higher conversion rate, it can reduce your advertising cost
yeah.
if you have a higher conversion
Mm,
rate. So and
mm,
that's going to impact you positively. So
yeah.
and then the last one was highlighting whatever country you're made in. I think tariffs, they highlight to everyone the importance of where products are made. So I think you'd have to be living under a rock not to know that products that are made in China are getting hit with a tariff. And so I think that influences buying decisions for some people. And so highlighting those things and where your product is
Yeah.
made, not just made in the USA, or it could be made in New Zealand, made in Australia, wherever it is. That's going to be more important.
100%. And I was also just thinking at the beginning around this, because you could, a lot of products made in New Zealand, for example, will tend to be more premium priced sort of products against the competition. But it might be that you're still premium, and it ties into having amazing branding and listings, so you look premium as well. But if the competition's price has to kind of head up to your level, then if the price is the same, but people see they're clearly getting a premium product, then that's going to play into your favor. I think this is actually a really, really important one. If you are shipping products that are made in a different country, then that is a big advantage for you. So that's so given that, then you could even be taking a little bit more of an aggressive approach to this here and going, right, we're really going to win market share, we're really going to improve our ranking, and have that uh, line of sight on it as well. I think that's really important to consider. That this could be, again, timelines here, we'll see how they go, but you want to be paying close attention every day to what is our key competition doing. Have they increased prices? Are they, you can even look to see if they're running it low on stock. You do the 999 trick. That I know that's works on occasion as well, to see what they've got left. So you can then start to, make adjustments to your game plan to be a bit more responsive than what you might have normally been, to capitalize on that.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
so I think that's so. I mean, that's from an advertising point of view. But just while we're here, I think it's worthwhile to just throw up some other ideas and around. Okay, how can we view this in a different way? So, for example, at the start you talked about, well, where can you get growth in this environment? So, what do you think?
Yeah. Yeah. So, some areas that we think that are good opportunities still for growth, and where we see some of our customers are still getting growth, is, look at different countries other than the US. Obviously, Amazon sell in many, many different countries. And so, looking to expand into different countries, and, not only in this environment, but going forward, it does give you some flexibility to
Mm,
move if things like this happen, right? So obviously, it could be a different country next time where there's tariffs, and but you could redirect your stock and be like, okay, well, we're going to send more units to this country, and so you have a little bit more flexibility. We're not big on expanding into countries when you're not ready, but like if you're kind of ready and you're looking for growth, it's like expanding into a different country does give you that bit of flexibility.
yeah, so that's great. So that's one way, and then
Yep.
what else?
Another great way is to expand your product range, but not the way that you think. So, not just add more products, it's to build on the products that you already have that are good sellers. Because you've got, again, we're kind of touching on that non-experimentation piece. We already know these work. So what we want to do is create a 2-pack of these, or bundle them with something that we know that they purchase together, and things like that. So rather than trying to grow your catalog through new products that we know can be hit and miss, using the product ranges that you already have to grow it with bundling.
Yeah, no, that's great. Good idea. And then the other thing is just looking at your whole supply chain, and everything from reviewing HS codes, are they actually correct, to reviewing your packaging. Is there a way that we could get new packaging here that doesn't ruin the customer experience, but you could save money? Negotiating with your suppliers, that even if it's down to, well, what if we did more volume? Could we get a discount there, or different payment terms? What else could be done there? Like you need to have those conversations. Then even consider other countries. I know the company you were talking about right at the beginning, they actually, back when the steel tariff came on, they looked at Mexico. And so they did a couple of orders out of Mexico, but actually the quality wasn't quite the same. And so, like, the theory was good, cost was about the same, but the shipping was on a train, and so and the tariff wasn't there, so that made sense for a bit, but the quality just wasn't there. So this isn't a fast fix. Like, this is, going to a new country does take more time, and there's more risk attached to it, but it is something you might want to consider to make a huge difference. And, well, if you can eliminate that tariff, then that's going to make a big difference. So excellent. Well, I think that's probably the key things there that we would look at. So, less experimentation, double down on what's working, keep an eye on the competition, use day parting as a key way to squeeze the juice out of every dollar that you are putting into it. Look, there could be even more opportunity. Think opportunity in these moments. Like, it's like any time there's a recession or kind of fear, then if people are constricting, then that's not going to go well. Usually it is about keeping an open mind to, where's the opportunity here? Can we look at new countries? Can we look at new bundles? We could even double down here if our competition's running. We could really get after it as well. So do bring that lens to it as well. And then, just look at everything you can do to improve your supply chain costs. So anyway, I think that is our take, and probably by the time this is a Friday, and probably by the time Tuesday arrives and we launch this, things could have changed again. But anyway, so that's good. So look, hey, thank you for tuning in, and if you're watching on YouTube, you might have noticed that both Seb and I had a haircut today. So anyway, that'll have flocks of people going over to YouTube now to watch it. Seb does have a bit more hair than I do. But anyway, well, look, that's our take on it. And so thank you for listening. And actually, next week, I'm going to be interviewing Jamie Peros from SKU Drop. And so that supply chain conversation there, Jamie is a legend, and what he's doing and helping brands who are manufacturing in China, shipping around the world, and in particular into US, and in particular into Amazon. So he is a wealth of knowledge. So, we skipped over the surface levels here, but make sure you tune in for that one. That may end up landing after Easter, I think, for Easter, because we're taking a bit of a break. We might be having a best of TACOS Tuesday edition. But look out for that one from Jamie when that comes, and you will find that super valuable. So thanks everyone for tuning in. Appreciate it. Go well. Bye.